the 10-year celebration of Women 20. The session chair is going to be Dr. Gülden Tortan, who is the founding chair of W20 Turkey. Can we, a big round of applause as she walks past, as she gives homage to Mam Pumzilim Lampunguga and walks up to the podium.
Thank you. Yeah, you can come. I had a great idea. Let's not wait for people coming up and coming down. So this is the first session of our session. I have 15 minutes, but I will not make any big speeches because big speeches were already there with great women from Africa. I'm very proud of it. And I'm the founding chair of W20. And going to the Brisbane document, I said, this is an invitation for women. And people say, oh, you're too optimistic. They won't let you have Women 20. I said, who's this that's not letting us to have Women 20? They said, young woman. I said, no, they would not. And we got it. We got young woman permission from Mucize, which we adore her for her generosity, and all women, all G20 women. Now we have a session, which I don't want to run it too long. Women 20 is a policy-making organization. It's a platform. We don't have anybody above anybody. We don't say you are the greatest. We are all great. And we don't say this has not performed and this has performed, because these are respectable countries, the countries of the world that are big. And we have, if we don't have respect for big countries, they will not have respect for us. So I adore that they are now accepting the existence of women with W20, which is a start. But I see with the start that we are doing fine. But we need to go still a long way. Last 10 years, we had many countries, and this was my first presentation in G20 to the Sherpas. They said, you have 5 minutes to talk. I said, we have so many issues. I can't finish it in 5 minutes. 5 minutes sharp. So in 5 minutes sharp, I put this first slide. And we have the rest of the countries with a slide. And it says that we need education, especially technical education. We have care. We have to increase the women on both public and private leadership positions. And I love that in between us, because we can make it with that. We cannot make it. It's an male energy in G20 is actually an economic advantage in G20, because research said if you have women in your economies, there will be another Russia, another US and China, no Russia. To be able to do that, you have to empower women, you have to be inclusive for women. And that's very easy, actually. And for inclusion of women, we have a great space in the global south, and we will see that soon, as well as in leadership positions. Women in leadership positions are role models, are forces of encouragement. It's very easy to discourage people, but it's not that easy to encourage people. They have to see it, they have to understand it. Yes, she has made it here. And I will not go into everything. Social protection, trying to get women out of whatever, slavery, all those things, violence. Violence and slavery, I was banned to talk about these because the government said, in the first place, they said, this is illegal for our country. Why are you jumping up and down for these things? After 10 years, it's still illegal, and still we need to solve them. So this is one of the failure points, but we have to say it still. But we have great ways we have come. For those great ways, I have a report from an American no, not Kennedy, Kelsey. She has a report to tell us what have you done. And in that report, CDG, in that report, she says the goal in 2015 was 25 but 25. But I remember Sherpas at that time, in 14 actually, in Australia time, what is this? How many women is it? It's 100 women. It was answered at that time. And what we have right now, 10 years after that, 3 million women included in the workforce. This is a joint, without any organic connection, a joint achievement of all the W20 delegates and all the W20 people. I applaud them, and I wish you to applaud them, because this is not an easy task, because we are loose organizations. You are that country, she's that country. We are all different countries. We have all different priorities, and we are not running the countries. We are just a W20 organization trying to affect our countries, which is difficult. I mean, you run together with them, but you cannot affect them. So, and this has been the way women can achieve things, and no deliberate organization, but I know that all the deliberate organizations, international organizations, are kindly supporting us, because we are G20, the biggest countries in the world. And if we have problem now, it appears, or any pushback, as it's called, we are in trouble. But I assume we will not do that. Now we have a presentation from Harvard Kennedy School of Women Alumni Network, which is an important network. All these ladies are from there. And we will hear from them an independent report. Then I will recap it, explain what they have done again, and then we have other sessions. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Gülden. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm Tatiana Deravidisyan. I'm co-president of the Harvard Kennedy School Women's Alumni Network, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'll be co-presenting the W20 report commissioned by South Africa's W20 leadership on the work you're all doing. This year, as you all know, marks the 10 years since the inception of the W20 in Istanbul back in 2015. I just want to start the presentation. Can we get the, here we go. Right, so we were honored to have been invited to become a knowledge partner of the W20 again this year, and to prepare a report on the impact of W20 policy recommendations over the last decade. We are living in critical times, and we are living in an era where we all need to prove the work we do matters. We need to evaluate and measure the impact of our hard work, demonstrating it, and then identifying where more work is needed. This report is the first of its kind, both for W20 and for us. For those of you not familiar with us, we are a non-profit organization in the US representing HKS women all over the world. Our mission is to amplify, support, and connect women in our alumni network. And this is a great example of how we do that. We face a paradox because never before have we had more evidence about gender's inequality, the inequality's cost, the cost of gender inequality. Yet progress remains alarmingly slow. The W20 was created precisely to bridge this gap, transforming advocacy into concrete policies that drive change. As we approach the end of 2025, we asked, has a decade of advocacy delivered results? Before we delve into the report, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the full drafting team, members that you'll see on the screen. With me on stage to present the report are Farah Arab, my co-president, and Mariam Bujaja, a member of our network. We're also happy that in the room with us today is Nathalie Chinje Bodiong and Gaia Paradiso. Unfortunately, Maria del Carmen Hernandez and Eniola Sunuga cannot be here with us today. And a special thanks goes to Daniela Burr from the World Bank, who helped us with the research phase. This report captures W20's journey during this complex era. W20 focus began with addressing fundamental economic issues, but the global crises affecting our world demanded evolution. When COVID-19 exposed care workers' invisibility, you responded. When digital transformation threatened to leave workers behind, women behind, you adapted. This isn't just policy evolution, it's survival strategy. This evolution demonstrates W20's capacity for strategic adaptation while maintaining core economic empowerment focus. We've broken down the decade into 3 thematic timelines. 2015 to 18, we call the foundational building years, focused on core economic participation, labor force, for example, entrepreneurship, pay equity. And examples of where this has been implemented is the 25 by 25 initiative to reduce gender employment gap by 25%. 2019 to 2022, we labeled the crisis response and expansion years, adapting to global disruption in digital inclusion, COVID-19, and care economy. For example, Saudi Arabia in 2020 prioritized healthcare access during the pandemic. 2023 to 24, we called it the intersectional transformation years, integrating climate justice, digital rights, and addressing systematic barriers. For example, India's presidency in 2023 invited gender equality and merged gender equality and climate action together. The report also identifies 5 key trends of the W20 communiques in the past decade, and it highlights how you have adapted to socioeconomic and political trends, from crisis-responsive policy development to evolution from basic comprehensive approaches and core themes focused by the W20, to implementation lag and delayed recognition, to focusing on emerging themes in tech and social change, and measuring results. So implementing more data and monitoring systems. I'm going to hand over to Farah, who will talk more about the quantitative side of it.
Thank you, Tati. Thank you, Tati. Thank you, Tati, for the 6th time. So this resilience and strategic adaptation that Tati was telling us about, that we found throughout the evolution of Women 20 communiques and recommendations, also translates into quantitative impact. And here's where I would like us to take a moment to celebrate the impact that Women 20 has had over the past 10 years. Over the past decade, Women 20, all of you collectively, have made 220 policy recommendations to G20 leaders across 13 thematic areas. In those 10 years, 74 of those 220 recommendations were adopted into G20 leaders' declarations. This translates into a 33.6% success rate in our policy advocacy efforts. Congratulations. We also wanted to look at which policies thematically were more popular by G20 leaders in adopting them into their declarations. So across the 13 thematic areas, we can see that in absolute terms, entrepreneurship and financial inclusion has the highest number of policies adopted by G20 leaders. That is followed by gender pay gap, and then followed by education. When we look at the adoption rate, however, which is the relative number is basically the proportion of policies adopted by G20 leaders relative to the number of policies made by W20, we see that the adoption rate is highest for policies around social protection at 75%, followed by education at 64%, and by gender gap at 52%. So what this tells us is that while the adoption, the thematic adoption, it seems to be inconsistent throughout the themes, but both gender pay gap and education consistently show up as popular themes among G20 leaders, both in the absolute and in the relative terms over the past 10 years. There's also some inconsistency in the adoption across time, of course, and what we can find from here is that a lot of this inconsistency is explained by the global context. So we see that there is an upward trend in adoption rates of our policy recommendations between 2015 and 2019, and then we see a downward trend begin post-pandemic in 2020, which is a known turning point for increased backlash on gender empowerment policies globally. So obviously, we're influential, but global context matters. Here's another point to celebrate. When we looked at G20 leaders' declarations over the last 10 years, we counted 109 gender commitments made by leaders' declarations in the past decade. 74 of those can be traced back to Women 20 policy recommendations, which basically comprise more than 2 out of 3 gender commitments from the G20. This means that Women 20 is basically the main driver of the gender-focused discourse in G20 and the agenda setter for gender policy in the bloc. So congratulations. All right, now I'm going to pass it on to my colleague Miriam, who's going to tell us a little bit more about these gender commitments made by G20 leaders and what they mean for implementation on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you. Apologies for the coarse voice, but the aircon had the best of me. I will now take us from analyzing the past decade impact to defining the path forward. We'll look at what the data tells us about the growth and the quality of gender commitments, implementation gap, and conclude with a clear and urgent roadmap for the future. So let's start with a clear sign of progress. This graph shows the number of gender-specific commitments by G20 leaders in their annual declarations from 2015 to 2024. As you can see, the number has grown significantly. In fact, it has increased tenfold, referring to the 109 commitments Farah mentioned. So from a low of just 5 commitments in 2016, we see a clear upward trend peaking in recent years. And the dotted trend line is crucial. It shows that this isn't just a random fluctuation. There has been a sustained and systematic increase in the number of gender commitments